Some of the quietest people in a room are the ones doing the most work inside their minds. You've seen it happen. A group is talking, laughing, arguing a little. One person barely says a word. Then, near the end, they say one sentence, and it stops the room. They noticed something nobody else caught, a shift in tone, a tension between two people, a detail everyone missed because they were too busy talking. How did they know that? That question is what we're going to answer today. Not with vague ideas about introverts being deep thinkers, but with what's actually happening in the mind of someone who says less than everyone else in the room. Because here's the mystery. If they weren't talking, what were they doing? The answer is that they weren't doing nothing. They were running a completely different program than everyone else. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a quiet person the same way again. And if you're the quiet one, you might finally feel understood. Let's start with the biggest misconception people carry. We tend to treat conversation like a stage. If you're not performing on it, you're assumed to be off in the wings, disengaged, maybe a little lost. Quiet gets read as empty. But picture two people at the same gathering. One is talking constantly, filling silences, reacting fast, keeping the energy moving. The other says almost nothing. On the outside, it looks like the talker is more present, more engaged, more switched on. Internally, it can be the exact opposite. While one person is generating their next sentence, the other might be tracking 6 things at once. Who just went quiet, whose smile didn't reach their eyes, how the mood in the room shifted the second a certain name came up. The talking person's mind in that moment is often the simpler one. The quiet person's mind can be the noisiest place in the room, just not out loud. This is the paradox worth sitting with. Silence is not the absence of activity. Sometimes it's the sound of a mind working at full capacity. So why can't a person do both? Why can't you talk a lot and observe a lot at the same time? This is where it gets concrete, not just poetic. Your mind has a limited amount of working memory. Think of it like a small desk you use to actively process information in real time. When you're forming a sentence, choosing your words, timing your delivery, you're using a space on that desk. And that same desk is where you'd otherwise be placing things like tone of voice, body language, or the tiny pause before someone answers a question. You felt this yourself. You're in a conversation, already building your next comment in your head. And suddenly you realize you missed the last thing the other person said. You didn't ignore them. Your desk was full. Now imagine a person who defaults to keeping that desk mostly clear of what do I say next, and instead fills it with what's actually happening here. That's not a personality quirk. That's a trade-off happening in real time, every single conversation. Speaking and observing pull from the same limited resource. You can turn one dial up, but the other dial quietly goes down. Talkative people aren't shallow. Quiet people aren't smarter. They're just running different settings on the same machine. But there's a second layer to this, and it explains something even stranger. Why quiet people often seem to know what you're feeling before you've said it. Psychologists call part of this self-monitoring, the habit of tracking the people around you before you decide what to do or say yourself. Some people do this constantly, almost automatically. Before they speak, they've already scanned the room. Who's tense, who's checked out, whose energy just dropped. Think of a dinner table. 2 people at that table are having a normal conversation on the surface, but there's a third person, mostly silent, who can feel that something is off between them. A slight stiffness, a pause that lasted half a second too long. before either of the two people involved has said a single word about it. That's not mind reading. That's a mind that has spent the last 20 minutes reading the room instead of rehearsing its own next line. This habit is a double-edged sword, and we'll come back to that. But first, it explains one more thing: why quiet people so often say less than they actually know. This is where the iceberg comes in. Imagine everything a quiet person notices, considers, and thinks through during a single conversation. Now imagine that only the very tip of that gets spoken out loud, not because they're hiding something, but because their mind runs it through a filter first. They draft a thought, question it, discard it, refine it, often without even realizing they're doing it, and only the strongest, most useful version makes it to their mouth. That's why a quiet friend's advice can land so precisely. It's not that they thought of it quickly, it's that they'd already been quietly thinking about it in some form for longer than you knew. What you hear is one sentence. What existed underneath it was a much larger structure of half-formed thoughts you never saw. The tip above the water is small. The mass below it isn't. This is why being on the receiving end of a quiet person's rare comment can feel disproportionately meaningful. You're not hearing a quick reaction, you're hearing the result of something that's been processing for a while. Now here's where we need to be honest, because this isn't a story about quiet people being secretly superior. The same wiring has a cost. Constantly scanning the room, filtering every sentence before it's spoken, tracking everyone else's emotional temperature. That takes energy. A lot of it. It's why someone can leave a 2-hour gathering having said maybe 20 sentences and still feel completely drained. They weren't idle. They were working the entire time, just internally. Picture that as a backpack. Not visible to anyone else, but full. Every glance registered, every shift in tone noted, every unspoken tension logged somewhere. Nobody sees the weight. They just see someone who didn't say much. Left unchecked, this pattern can tip into overthinking, social exhaustion, or a habit of anticipating everyone else's needs while quietly neglecting your own voice in the room. So this isn't a case for staying silent as some kind of virtue. It's a case for recognizing what silence often actually is: attention, running at full capacity, pointed outward instead of into a speech. So what do you actually do with this? If you're someone who talks a lot, this isn't a call to talk less out of guilt. It's an invitation to occasionally lower your own dial, to let a pause sit for an extra second or two before you fill it, and notice what surfaces in that gap. You might catch something you would have otherwise talked right past. If you're the quiet one, the useful shift isn't forcing yourself to speak more. It's trusting that what you've already processed has value, and giving yourself permission to say the short version out loud sometimes instead of filtering it down to nothing. The room usually isn't waiting for a performance. Often, it's waiting for exactly the kind of sentence you've already thought through 3 times before anyone else has thought it once. And if you recognize yourself in that backpack, carrying the weight of constant observation, the practical move is simple. Build in recovery time. Time alone isn't you being antisocial. It's you setting the backpack down so you can pick it back up later. So here's the real reframe. Silence was never the opposite of engagement. In a lot of people, it's the clearest sign of it. Just pointed inward instead of outward, taking in more than it lets out. Next time someone in the room says almost nothing all night, don't assume they weren't paying attention. There's a good chance they were paying the most attention of anyone there. If this topic resonated with you, I explore it much more deeply in my book, where I explain the psychology behind it and offer practical ways to better understand yourself and others. If you're interested, you'll find it linked in the description. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Psychology for Dummies. Every week, we explore the hidden psychology behind everyday thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, making complex ideas simple, practical, and easy to understand. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.